there is a creator who made a video on semen retention called Semen Retention and Women Don't Mix. And honestly, he had some good points, but I wanted to make my own spin on that video, give my own take, because I did not agree with everything. And first of all, I'm currently on 5 months of semen retention, about 5 months in a week, and we're pushing for a year. So, I keep on sharing my experience, and, we've been on this journey for a while, and the longest I've done is 10 months, so we're pushing for a year. So what he starts off by saying is semen retention and women don't mix. So he was saying that he had a girlfriend around the start of his semen retention, and he was having sex with her and not ejaculating. So he was still on semen retention with his girlfriend. But the point he made was that he still felt drained from these sexual acts despite being on semen retention. So he still felt the benefits, he still felt good. But basically he says that after breaking up with his girl, the benefits were amplified and he felt much more focused and powerful. And the reason he said that the sex drained him was because even if he wasn't ejaculating and losing the energy, he was still directing the energy towards the lower chakras. So he was saying that he had to make a conscious effort to bring that energy back up. And then he basically makes the conclusion that it's better to completely avoid women, which is where I would disagree. He basically says that, yeah, sure, I love women, that's what he says, but it's a waste of time and a waste of energy spending time on women. And I see where he's coming from, but I have to make a caveat here because we do need that feminine presence in our lives. And although I wouldn't say that is the case for every woman, you should be selective of the feminine energy that surrounds you, but it doesn't mean that you should avoid it completely. Think about your mother, think about your sister, think about your family. First of all, that's already a feminine energy. You might want to have it in your life. Obviously, it depends for everyone. Maybe in some cases your family is going to be draining, but you see what I mean? That completely cutting out feminine energy is unreasonable. And the reason he said that you should do this is because when you're on semen retention, you reach deeper level of consciousness, you evolve in a way that you kind of start to feel like all girls are the same. You kind of start to see patterns emerging, and that if you take away the sexual aspect, there's not much that woman can offer to you, especially if you're on semen retention. You've got all that energy to yourself. You don't need a woman in your life. Everything that a woman can do to provide for you, you could technically do yourself. And although, yeah, that makes sense, you don't need a woman. But the point of having a woman in your life or a relationship is so that she can support you. So what I'm saying is, okay, this is the second time my iPhone storage ran out, but I just deleted like 40 videos, so we should be good. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is that it's not going to be every woman that you want to give your energy to. And when you do give your energy, what you would do ideally is not give any sexual energy. That's the caveat. If you can find a woman that is okay with not having sex and not being overly sexual, well, that can be beneficial to you if you're on semen retention, because I agree with him that if you have a meaningless relationship with a girl where you're not deeply connected, you can't have these spiritual talks, you don't have a deep connection, and you're having sex, even if you're not ejaculating, it's not going to be nourishing to your growth, and it's going to be more than a distraction. But if you're actually picky and you find a girl who actually supports you you feel good with is going to be beneficial, and it can help you in your work. You can feel in a way that, okay, I have a girl in my life. It's going to push me to work harder to provide for her. So there are definitely situations where having a girl is beneficial. And yeah, you can set it up in a way, you can be so disciplined that you can say, hey, if you have the consciousness, if you share that consciousness, you can say to the girl, hey, I do not want to have sex. I do not want to have any sexual acts because I'm focused on my work. If you want to follow me in that, you want to support me with my goals, you are welcome. If you do not want to, if that is too much for you, I understand and I will move on. So if you are clear in your communication, obviously not every girl is going to be down for this, but you have the potential to find this. And even if you don't invest yourself in a relationship, which you should only do, like I said, if you're being picky, you can still have feminine energy from women as friends. And yeah, you're not always going to have super deep conversations, and maybe he was saying that when was the last time you actually had a good time with a woman? When was the last time it actually brought you something? If you're selective, you'll find the woman that bring you something that you can have deep conversations with, that you can be mature with. It's about having a different perspective. You can say the same thing about hanging out with guys. Sometimes the boys, it's not always too deep, but if you do have these deep talks, at least you gain different perspectives, and it's a different energy from if you ask a girl about a certain situation, or if you ask a guy for advice for a situation. They'll give you different responses. They'll think about it differently. You can have different input. And at the end of the day, it's about these different energies. And I'm not saying go spend all your time with girls, make friends. At the end of the day, if you want to be focused on your work, that's what's important. But can these other energies, can these people surrounding you in moderation actually be beneficial to you? I think that yes, if you are selective. So what else does he talk about? Semen retention and girls don't mix. Yeah, so he says that since he broke up with his girl and he's just been on his semen retention, completely free from women, it has been night and day in his energy. And I think you can get even better results if you are selective with the feminine energy that surrounds you, and if you're super selective, and on top of that, you don't allocate any sexual energy to the woman, so you don't feel any lust towards them. Or when you do feel lust, you take a moment to take a step back. So, have I gone over most of it? If we reiterate, he says that it's better to completely avoid woman energy on semen retention to be completely focused. I say be selective, and yeah, as long as you're not lustful. It was a long video though. He made other points. Having to cut this video from my storage running out has kind of fucked up my train of thought, but I did make the main point. But I do agree with him in the sense that you want to stay focused on your retention, and that putting your energy towards lust, even though we express it differently and he's more intense in his way of seeing it, is a good thing, because he also says that, okay, you should focus on semen retention. What if you just focus on that for the next 20 years and you completely avoid women? If you want to have a woman after, well, you're still free to do that. Like, who's going to stop you? If in 20 years you want to have a woman, you're taking care of yourself, you can always find a youthful woman to be with. And that may be true, but that's going off the principle that you'd want to just hook up with women later on, from what I understand. Because ideally, if you want to start a family, I don't know, even if we're young, I think me and him are both in our 20s. If I didn't say it already, I'll link his video in the description if you want to check out that video. But yeah, if we're in our 20s, you know, obviously you might not want to start a family too late. It depends on the priority of each person. Because maybe for someone, his life purpose is linked with having a family. It's important to have a family. So maybe you wouldn't wait that long. And obviously, I say wait, but you're really just building yourself up throughout those years. And that's great because there's so much you could achieve on semen retention if you focus on your work. But at the end of the day, once again, you want to be balanced with your energy, because if you're just in a work mode and you don't allocate energy to anybody else, maybe you can tap into a state where you're completely focused on your work. But is it really sustainable? Do you really feel good in that? These are questions to ask yourself. But yeah, the aspect of living a celibate life, it has a beauty to it. And, you know, there's different ways to look at this. But basically, yeah, even if you don't wait 20 years, 5 years will do a lot for you. If you do 5 years of retention, you're 20, you do to 20 to 25, and you actually grind your ass off, you work like a unit, you're gonna be a unit. You can start your family if you want by then. Depends on your priorities. I think that's it for this video. I've gone over most of it. Semen retention and women don't mix unless you do it in a proper way and you're mindful of how you give your energy to who you give it to. It can be guys as much as girls, in the sense that you could waste your energy with the wrong girl. You could waste your energy with the wrong group of guys as well. It's just about being mindful. And for relationship-wise, you always have the option and discipline to do it without sexual acts. And if you're selective, you can find a woman that really supports you in what you're doing. So you shouldn't completely rule that out. That's it. Peace.